Hi everyone, I'm Ken from Crypto Trading KS. If you're new, welcome, and welcome back to our regular community. If you're new to the channel, everything I do for you is free. I share my experience as a full-time crypto trader with 20 years of experience trading across many different markets. My goal is to assist you to be more of a financial blessing to yourself and those you love. This is a special episode on Tether USDT requested by the community. Should you be worried? Let's run the numbers. Tether's been in the news of late, and of course over many months and many years there have been numerous investigations into Tether. There's currently the Department of Justice is reportedly considering filing criminal charges against Tether and Bitfinex. Now let's have a look into this. What is all this about? Tether is the third largest cryptocurrency by market cap with $61.821 billion. When we look at the market for Tether, we can see it's a very important on-ramp to a wide variety of different alts. It also has a part to play in the perpetuals and the futures. Since around January the 20th, we've seen an exponential increase in the amount of Tether on exchanges up to its current value. So what started this? Why are people talking about Tether again? The Department of Justice, that's the DOJ, is reportedly considering filing criminal charges against Tether and Bitfinex executives. A Bloomberg report claims, reportedly considering Bloomberg. They're critical things to understand. 3 years ago, there was a federal investigation into Tether. Bloomberg is reporting that it remains a potential criminal case. Note that the owner of Tether is Bitfinex. So let's have a look at that Bloomberg article there. Oops, we can't get in. Of course, we could if we wanted to pay, but guess what? We don't. So how did Tether respond to the Bloomberg article? It said today Bloomberg published an article from an unnamed sources about years-old allegations patently designed to generate clicks, repackaging stale claims as news. It concludes, it's business as usual at Tether. Let's dig a little deeper. If we go to Tether's website at tether.to, we can see a range of articles here. The critical thing we need to look at is, are Tether's reserves fully backed? Let's have a look at this particular article. This is the Independent Accountants Report done on the 28th of February 2021. It says the consolidated assets at that time were $35.27 billion. Now, what does all this mean? On page 4 we have the answer. The consolidated group's consolidated assets exceed its consolidated liabilities. In other words, it's backed. So what's the problem? Again, we always look deeper. We love research. Fitch Ratings looked at Tether reserves breakdown at the 31st of March 2021. It found 49.6% was in commercial paper. Let's just call it 50%. So what's the big deal? Oh, commercial paper, what's that? It's unsecured short-term debt with a maturity of less than 270 days. Now, why is this a problem? Because if it was over 270 days, it would have to be registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. Commercial paper played a big role in the financial crisis of 2007 when the commercial paper market froze. The critical thing here to understand, it is unsecured short-term debt. Unsecured means doesn't have to be paid out. So let's look a little bit more deeply at unsecured short-term debt. It just means the unsecured borrower does not have to pledge collateral. That means that in default, there's nothing to collect. Going in a little bit more deeply, what it means, unsecured debt, the lender may not be able to recover their investment. that is Tether, i.e. Bitfinex, if there are any problems, may not be able to recover around 50% of the market value of Tether if something went wrong. If we go back to Tether's website and look at transparency, as commercial paper is 50% of the value of Tether, we would expect it to be reported. Specifically, we would be looking for financial dollar values on commercial paper, treasury bills, reserves, repo notes, cash, corporate bonds, secured notes, secured loans, and other things. So let's see if they turn up. Okay, now we know what we're looking for. Let's see if we can see anything that obeys that. Liabilities, total authorized but not issued, quarantined. Okay, we're not seeing anything about reserves, commercial paper. Maybe it's down here. Maybe we missed it. Let's have a look. No, nothing there. Okay, anything here? Yeah. Tether is always fully transparent, except we can't see any of that commercial breakup, which is really important to see. I think we really need to dig more deeply into this Bloomberg article. So let's see what other news stories, news outlets have said on this particular article. Cointelegraph has come to the rescue. Yay, Cointelegraph. Regulators are scrutinizing Tether's commercial paper reserves. Exactly what we thought would be the problem. The firm behind the world's leading stablecoin, Tether, actually it's Bitfinex, isn't it? But anyway, according to a July 27 Bloomberg report, oh, what's this? Acting comptroller of the currency, Michael, said regulators are looking into Tether's stockpile of commercial paper. A team of regulators led by Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. This is really interesting. So they're looking into all of this. That's quite intriguing. Senator Elizabeth Warren asked Janet Yellen for greater regulation of the crypto industry. Who are these people? I think we need to understand a bit more about them. Let's start with Janet Yellen. She's the Secretary of the Treasury. She was appointed on January the 26th, 2021 to be the 78th Secretary of the Treasury of the US. She's an economist by training, 50 years in academia and public service. Incredible work history. She began working for the Federal Reserve Board in 1976. Wow, that's pretty impressive. What else do we have here? She was a University of California at Berkeley professor of business and economics. Very intelligent lady. 1994, she was appointed by President Bill Clinton to the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. That's very nice. 2004, she became president of the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. 2010, President Barack Obama appointed her vice chair of the Federal Reserve. This is pretty impressive. 4 years later, she became the chair of the Federal Reserve until 2018. On December the 1st, 2020, President-elect Biden nominated Janet Yellen to the post of Treasury Secretary. Clearly, Janet Yellen knows what she's doing and is very, very experienced in these roles. Now, who is Elizabeth Warren? Elizabeth is a senator for the state of Massachusetts since November the 6th, 2018. She's been involved heavily with anti-corruption legislation. She's seeking to impose taxes on ultra-millionaires, create universal childcare, student debt relief, down payments on the Green New Deal. She's seeking to build more than 3 million new homes, cutting rents nationwide by 10%, extend criminal accountability to corporate executives who oversee and direct illegal scam, give workers voting rights to elect 40% of boards, require every public company to disclose climate-related risks. She's seeking to raise $100 billion to solve the opioid and substance use abuse crisis, and seeking to address the prescription drug costs by generic drug manufacturing. What else is she up to? She helped secure $750 million in debt relief for students. Pretty impressive. She helped pass legislation to double the federal funding for childcare, make hearing aids available over the counter, reduce out-of-pocket costs for high school students, and put over $6 billion in federal funding towards the fight against the opioid epidemic. That's quite impressive work. She's seeking to hold the nation's largest corporations and most powerful government agencies accountable for fraud, waste, and abuse. She was also the chair of the Congressional Oversight Panel for TARP, Troubled Asset Relief Program, and she's been a law professor for more than 30 years. Clearly a highly intelligent person. So who is Michael Hsu, the acting comptroller of the currency? He became acting comptroller of the currency on May the 10th, 2021, designated by Janet Yellen. Okay, pretty cool. Some connections emerging here. Michael is charged with the administration of the federal banking system, and he's the CEO of the Office of the Comptroller of Currency, OCC. The OCC supervises nearly 1,200 national banks, federal savings associations, and federal branches and agencies of foreign banks. The comptroller also serves as the director of the FDIC, and that's a really important thing to understand. That's the bailout organization if things go wrong. And also the comptroller is a member of the Financial Stability Oversight Council and the Federal Financial Institutions Examination Council. Michael's past includes Associate Director in the Division of Supervision and Regulation at the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. He has a risk management background. He co-chaired the Federal Reserve's Systemic Risk Integration Forum and was a member of the Basel Committee Risk and Vulnerabilities Group. It's also quite interesting. He's a financial economist. He was a financial economist at the US Department of the Treasury, helping establish TARP, Troubled Assets Relief Program. There's an intertwining of these three key players. Michael began his career in 2002 as a staff attorney, background in law, in the Federal Reserve Board's legal division. Now when we look at the news, we understand a little bit more about who Elizabeth Warren is, who Janet Yellen is, and who Michael is. These are really important things to understand. So Senator Warren and Treasury Secretary Yellen are seeking to mitigate risks over cryptocurrencies. So let's have a look at this article. We're seeing a mitigation of the growing risks that cryptocurrencies pose to the financial system. We know cryptocurrencies can work outside the financial system. That is quite a risk to incumbents. Elizabeth is stating that there needs to be a sufficient amount of regulation within the United States, and I definitely agree with her. She says that there are problems such as risk to banks, cyber attacks, I don't know where that comes from, and risks unique to stablecoins. That's probably about Tether and decentralized finance, or DeFi. We know DeFi can disintermediate the banks. Of course, that's a risk to the banking system. This is a really fair point. Crypto does need oversight. I know many people don't think that that's the case. It should be the Wild West. But the truth is, it really does, if it's to seek mass adoption. Earlier this month, Senator Warren called on the US Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, to use its full authority to address cryptocurrency risks, emphasizing that Congress must also step up to close these regulatory gaps. Now the question is, what are these regulatory gaps? Right at the moment, Tether is in the crosshairs. I believe that scrutiny is well deserved. Tether, $61.8 billion, with about 50% of that as an unsecured source, is problematic. Now, what do we do about this? If we scroll down a little bit, we see USD coin, USDC, that's from Circle. It has a capitalization of $27.2 billion, a little under 50% of Tether's. Let's have a look at Circle's website, USDC, the world's leading digital dollar stablecoin. I think Tether is at the moment, but anyway. So we can see about 27.1 billion in circulation. It's been increasing. What we're really interested in is not marketing information. We want to know transparency. Here we go. Financial and operational transparency. Grant Thornton, LLP, is a highly specialized tax, advisory, and audit firm. Let's just have a look at who they are. Here we go. They have 8,500 employees. They're very good name, Grant Thornton. Let's now drill into this May 2021 Financial and Operational Transparency Report. What we're doing here is looking for commercial paper. We can see out of 100%, there's around 9% in commercial paper for USDC. If we go back to Fitch's assessment of cash, 2.94%, commercial paper, 49.6%, Tether reserves at 31st of March 2021. We can see USDC is very favorable in comparison. Commercial paper is a bit of a ticking time bomb. 9% is allowable. It may help to know a little bit of background about myself. I've been involved in financial analysis for very large multi-billion dollar firms for many decades. So how is USDC actually growing over time? We can see its uptake is fairly exponential. That's not bad. Now, how does that compare to Tether? We can see Tether's exponential rise actually starting to taper off, and this is not surprising. I wanted to do this video for you to explain what I'm doing as a full-time crypto trader. Let's just go back to USDC. This incremental rise in USDC gives confidence to the fact that USDC is a potential replacement for Tether. As USDC is $1 backed at $27 billion compared to Tether's 50% realistically backed at $61.8 billion, unless they come out with some other stats. But it's been very difficult to get Tether to report like USDC reports. I think if Tether reported like USDC, Tether would get itself out of any hot water with anyone, realistically. Tether's so important to the ecosystem of cryptocurrency. I don't really know why they're not doing it. As a financial analyst, that would be the first thing that I would recommend. When people come at you, why don't you just simply fix the problem? For this reason, I have sold all my Tether holdings and converted them into USDC, and that's not an insignificant amount. Now we really need to look at what could happen if Tether broke down in terms of its peg. It's currently trading around the $1 US mark. If there was a loss of confidence and everybody sought to cash out of Tether all at once, that could, what former CFTC chairman Timothy Massad said, would be breaking the buck. That means the one-to-one relationship. Timothy says that this would be cataclysmic for the crypto market. I don't believe so at all. JP Morgan said there could be a severe liquidity shock and that regulations of stablecoins need to be strengthened. I do agree with that. That's important. Every day we talk about puts and calls. The Tether put that's going short Is that the crypto equivalent of a credit default swap? Not getting too much into the technical side of this. We really want to start tracking the degree of short interest in Tether. We can see it's currently 61.53%, but this is incredibly low volume, low amounts of money. 2.51 million is nothing, but we are going to track this as part of our timing process from now on in. We are always seeking as a community to create the most extensive early warning system for crypto. There's so much more information that I could have shared with you. I do tend to research quite significantly. One little thing caught my eye, and this is a problem, but not for the reasons of what we think. Tether Limited is a privately held financial technology company incorporated in Hong Kong. What do we know about Hong Kong? That has become part of mainland China. What do we know about that? China is cracking down on all technology sectors. China is releasing its own central bank digital currency, the digital yuan. What does this mean? Tether is in problem. If it is still in Hong Kong, it could be actually closed down by the Chinese Communist Party or the Chinese government, as it's normally called. It's really important to understand that the Chinese Communist Party is the sole governing political party of China. Whatever it says goes. There is no opposition to what the party says. If the party says a particular business is to close down, it is to close down. If it is saying Tether needs to close down, it will close down. It's just as simple as that. I believe that this is the largest systemic risk to Tether. Just doing a little bit more research, it is confirmed Tether is incorporated in Hong Kong. With this in mind, it could potentially explain why we've seen such an uptick in Bitcoin's price. People could be basically transferring their Tether into Bitcoin. In the previous video on trend, we noticed that the Hang Seng, the Chinese stock market, had actually fallen below, and this was very much due to their crackdown on technology. There's been a slight recovery, but it's really important to understand that this is systemic. There's a real issue happening here. So what could happen if Tether depegs? If Tether has a loss of confidence? Yes, it would certainly impact the crypto market, absolutely. We would see a flight to safety in terms of Tether going into Bitcoin primarily. I think that's actually what we're viewing now. Smart money always gets out very, very quickly when they've got a confirmed trend. I think the thing to understand, if we look at the internet growth and we understand that crypto is growing 80% higher than the past internet grew, and back in 1993, I ran an internet service provider. You can't imagine the laws that were trying to be passed. They wanted to hold every internet service provider. I was an owner of an internet service provider. They wanted to hold me personally liable for any information sent by email between two people I wouldn't even know, a customer on the ISP and someone else, if it was defamatory in any way. It's really interesting to understand how crazy that actually sounds. That's like saying you pop on Gmail, you have a go at someone else via email. They say you slandered me, and then you say, well, I'm going to sue Gmail. That's just crazy. It's insane. But that's what they were proposing. They also, the telecoms, put enormous pressure on the government to basically bring in timed local calls. In those days, people dialed up through a modem. It's a bit of a history lesson. And that used a landline, something that we don't even see anymore. But they wanted to kill the internet. That's the telecoms wanted to kill the internet. The telecoms have done so well from the internet. This kind of turbulence is absolutely normal. I saw it in the past. I'm seeing it now. all it means is rampant adoption. If Tether causes a problem and prices go down, if you can, maybe put a little bit aside. If we see the flight to safety into Bitcoin, that is a high probability. Is Bitcoin's prices going up based on smart money getting out of Tether? In other words, there's really nothing to worry about. Increased regulation is very, very important for crypto in terms of its adoption. That's critical stuff. Clearing out all of these things that would cause people problems is a good thing. It's no problem at all. Any turbulence will be short-lived anyway. You're in the best asset class on the planet. Even if you can't exit any positions, you know that everything is going to grow. It can't help it. It's the next evolution of the internet, and you own a piece of it, so long as you bought it spot. We can see here that USDC is about half the value of USDT. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we see some sort of flight between USDT and USDC. I think it's also quite possible that the flight into Bitcoin is primarily due to Tether. I hope you found the content useful. Everything I do for you is free. Please be aware of scammers. I do these videos to assist you to be more of a financial blessing to yourself and those you love. Crypto is volatile. Always prepare yourself for the best and worst case scenarios. Reality will likely be between them. Stay safe out there. Take care and see you next time. Bye for now.